Hello YouTube, welcome back once again to Harley Day Rider. And today is, just to put this out there to you, I don't know if you'll believe it or not, but today is December 10th. December 10th, 2015. And I'm dating this video because of the main reason for historical facts for myself. It's 57 degrees. I had to go to the doctor's office, and I thought, well, you know what? I had to go to the doctor's office, and I thought, well, I'm going to take the motorcycle to go to the doctor's office on December 10th. So now I'm on my way home. It's about 2:30, I guess, and it's still not really that bad out here, but you can feel the chill coming in the air. So you can definitely feel the chill coming, and so now I'm going to beat feet back home and try to relax for a while. I got a haircut scheduled tonight, which is always good. Got the haircut scheduled, and the beautician actually comes to our house. It's actually our neighbor. So she'll be over tonight to give us a haircut. Myself and my wife is getting a haircut. And so that'll be a good thing. I also had to make a run here to the local Target store. And the reason I had to do that was my dog, who's an oversized Yorkie, keeps wanting to break the leash. Now we have one of those, I don't know if you've ever seen it. I call it a spring leash. I don't know what kind of leash you'd call it. But you know, it rolls up on itself. The cord rolls back into itself there. And our dog likes to run so much that he likes to pull the spring apart inside the thing, and then it won't roll itself back up. So I bought one today that's supposed to handle either a German Shepherd or a Saint Bernard. So I think that's going to be beneficial, and I don't think he'll be able to break it. Yeah, I paid a little bit extra money for it, but we're going through those cheap ones about one a month, so I might as well buy a good one and try to make it last. And we'll see how that works out for us. We're going to take a back way home since the weather's not that bad. Extend the ride a little bit there, and take another way home here up good old Locust Avenue, and we'll see how that turns out. See what kind of cars are coming here, because I can make a right on red. And sometimes it's good to take the back way home, you know, like the song from, was it Cheap Trick? So you think you're Romeo, met a part in a picture show, take the long way home. I think he used to ride motorcycles at one point or another, but I'm not really sure of that. But this back road here will get me out of the city anyway. I had to go in through the city to go to the doctor's office. I didn't record that because sometimes we talk about, well, a lot of times we talk about, do you ever just ride not to record, right? So I threw the camera into the saddlebag, and that's where it made its way into the city. And then I knew I had to go to Target, so I figured after Target I'll throw the camera on the helmet and do a little motovlog on the way home. So that's what I decided to do. And I do have, believe it or not, I got a bunch of videos stacked up for the winter time. You probably heard myself and Crazy Cool New Yorker talking about that. The reason is, we normally can't ride here in the winter time because it normally snows. Sunday, I told my wife this Sunday coming up, I said, hon, you probably won't see me most of the day. It's supposed to be 76 degrees here. 76 degrees, and here goes the car turning right in front of me. Let's let him get out of there. So it's going to be 76 degrees here in southwestern Pennsylvania on Sunday, and I said, "Hon, I'll probably be out." I said, "You go with me for a winter ride." Of course, she responded with, "Nah, that's okay, honey, you go. I got a lot of stuff I want to do around the house." She said, "You go ahead and go, and you have a good time." So I called my friend Henry, and I said, "Henry, do you think you might want to go for a ride?" Henry said, "Well, maybe." So, on one of my recent videos, I think I told you, I've winterized my bike twice already. And Henry said, "Oh, my bike, you know, I got the seafoam in there, I winterized it, and I can't ride it now." I said, "Henry, you could ride it, not a problem." You know, I said, "I've done that twice already." And I said, "You could definitely ride your bike. I mean, the seafoam's just going to clean the engine out. It's not going to hurt anything. You got to eventually run it out anyway when you, in the spring, when you start your bike back up." So, he said he's game, so we'll see how the weather goes. Hopefully we don't get any rain or anything. It's just going to be a nice warm day. We're not going to get many more of them. They're saying 2 more weeks, and then we're going to be into the heart of our winter season here in southwestern PA. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, take a ride up here past, if you guys ever remember RCA, some of the senior folks that watch these videos will remember the RCA company. It used to be very, very big. There's still some RCA TVs, I guess, out there. They still make them, but this place actually made the RCA transistor radios. So, be that what it is, transistor radio. I know some of the younger guys are going, "What the hell's a transistor radio?" Well, you know, back in the day, long time ago, there was, I don't know why these lights are flashing yellow. Now this is screwing everything. I hope there's not a train coming. I don't see the red lights flashing. But a long time ago, we didn't have smartphones. We didn't have Pandora, Spotify, iTunes. We didn't have that stuff. No, we had what was called a transistor radio. The transistor radio was hot because it was portable, and it was a nice little portable radio. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a story. We went to a festival here, probably about, we'll call it 5-6 years ago. We walked into an antique store, and I seen a transistor radio, exactly the same kind that I had when I was a kid. So I plugged it in, and it worked. So I bought it. And today it's sitting in my little computer room there, in my little studio. Why are all these people sitting here? But yeah, it's sitting in the studio there. I mean, I don't play it. It's just one of those artifacts, I guess, from my childhood that I thought I would want. It's really cool. But let's get back to what the transistor radio did for America. Did for music and news. I mean, just, it's huge. What it did was, why are these people stuck here? Holy crap. I'm glad I'm going the other way. I think there's something up on the hill. I think they're digging the road up, of course, and there's school buses coming down there. Oh, there's a flag, man. So anyway, the transistor radio, I'm trying to get neutral here. The transistor radio changed the world because it allows us to be mobile. It was a mobility thing. Remember the first big radios? If you watch old episodes of the Waltons or any of those old shows where they had the big console radios right on the floor, and there you go, big console radios on the floor, they couldn't move them. So during show times or whatever was coming on the radio, the family had to gather around, much like we do with the TV today, so to speak. But the transistor radio allowed us to be portable. I remember my dad, when we got our first transistor radio, we took it fishing. And we thought that was the greatest thing in the world. To finally, where you have peace and tranquility, to finally introduce noise. To finally introduce noise to the great outdoors. Yeah, I don't think it was the greatest thing to ever happen. It did pass the time, but it was probably stupid. You know, I probably should have stuck with the peace and quiet. But it also, you would find people with transistor radios sitting on porches, sitting outside on porches, listening to the news at night, you know, in a nice cool air. They didn't have to be inside anymore with them big tube type radios. So yeah, the transistor radio did change America. I mean, it put us in a whole new mobile generation, so to speak, I guess. Alright, anyway, I hope this guy's going to let us through here, because I know you're getting tired of me just sitting here talking to you. And I hope he lets me turn left, if the world is great. And so we can go left here, get out of all that anyway. So I'm going to take you past the very plant that used to turn out those transistor radios, at least the RCA radios anyway. And the funny thing about that is my uncle used to work there. It was the old RCA plant, and he used to work there. It's not the RCA plant anymore. It's closed several decades ago. They moved because, like I said, they're still making TVs, but the transistor radio is no longer a piece of our daily lives, I guess. I guess it could be. I guess you're sort of in your car. That's a transistor radio in the car. So I guess it's still a piece of history that we're still using today, I guess. But it's really, really neat how that changed, at least America anyway, if not the world. I guess the world, because, you know, when you go to war, they were using the transistor radios to communicate with each other then. You know, mobile radios on the back of soldiers to communicate during the wars. So very, very valuable piece of equipment. Very valuable piece of history. So I don't want to baffle you with BS, as always. I just thought that'd be a neat little story. History, history, history. Now I'm going to tell you another little story. And once I get over all those bumps, oh my God. I'll give you one more story in this vlog. I don't want to make this too long. I like to keep them about I like to keep these vlogs below 12 minutes. But here you go. Here's one more quick story. So when I was a kid, I loved getting electronics for Christmas. Who doesn't? We all love electronics, right? Well, my mother one year bought me a transistor radio. Remember, we were just talking about transistor radios? And I always wanted to be an electronic technician. Right? Not an electrician, an electronic guy. I wanted to know electronics. That's probably why I'm in the computer field today. Because I've been into this stuff since I was a little boy. So she bought me a really nice radio. You know, play at the time. It cost them about 10 or 11 bucks. I don't know. Maybe 12. But back in them days, that's a lot of money for families to spend, right? Back in the 70s. So, Christmas morning, I got this radio. I turned it on. I was jamming. Bam, 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 bam. I was dancing around. You know, I was having a good old time with the radio, dancing with my sisters. And, oh, man, we love music. Well, I had that radio for about a week. And I went to Radio Shack with my dad. And he knew I liked electronics. And he said, son, wouldn't it be fun to own a soldering iron? I said, man, Dad, I'd love to have a soldering iron. I could solder stuff. I could make electronic components. I could build things, Dad. Yeah, give me a soldering iron. Well, we also found this thing in the soldering aisle called a desoldering bulb. B-U-L-B, desoldering bulb. Do you see where I'm going with this story? So we got home, and I thought, wow, this is great, a soldering iron. I can solder stuff. And I started thinking, what the hell do I got to solder? I don't have any circuit boards. I don't have any real wire. I mean, yeah, I play around with it, but I got a desoldering bulb. I got a bulb. What? So I found a small Phillips screwdriver. I found that little transistor radio could be opened up with 4 screws. 4. It could be opened up with 4 little screws. So I opened her up. I also found that there's a lot of solder to play with in that little radio. So I put it in my dad's vise on the workbench, and I started going to town learning how to use my new desoldering bulb. I thought it was wonderful. I took out all those little transistors, components, and whatever else resistors was in there. I desoldered everything. I laid them all over the table. I thought it was so cool. I was so brilliant. I was nothing but a genius. Well, till Mom found out. Mom said one day, "Hey son, why don't you go down and get your transistor radio out of the bedroom and play us some music?" I said, "Well, Mom, there's a little problem there." She said, "What would that be, son?" I said, "Well, I was pretty young." I said, "But I kind of dissected my radio. I tore it apart, Mom. I opened it up. I wanted to know how it worked. I wanted to know how each component worked. Maybe I wanted to build my own transistor radio." And she said, "That was not a good thing." So she asked me really politely to go get the wooden spoon, and I thought, well, she's probably going to make me some jello or some pudding with this wooden spoon, and that's not what happened. She cracked my ass so hard, I thought I was going to see stars for months. The moral of the story is, kids, when you get a Christmas gift, don't tear it apart. Even if your dad buys you a desoldering bulb, find something else to desolder. Don't desolder something new. So that's the moral of my story. Folks, I hope you've liked that little story today. That is a true story, 100% true. I have millions of those from, as I'm sure you do, from your childhood. But anyway, so we passed the old RCA plant. I'm sorry, if you roll back the video, it was through the intersection I went through, and straight ahead you'll see the big plant. That was the old RCA plant. And I was BSing so much I forgot to point it out. And I'm not going back, because it's pretty far back here. But anyway, one more thing before I go. I was pulling into Target, and this nice older lady, and I can say older because I'm older. I'm 51, so I'm getting older. The nice older lady said, she looked at me, I was parking my bike, taking my helmet off. She goes, "Wow." She said, "Now you're somebody that really enjoys weather like this, having a motorcycle." I said, "You are not kidding. This is some wonderful weather to still be riding December 10th on your motorcycle and not freezing your butt off." I mean, I have a sweatshirt on and my leather jacket. These are still summer gloves. These are mesh gloves. I do have my full face helmet on, obviously. It does block a lot of air off your head. But the rest of it, I just have blue jeans on. I do have my boots on. I always wear boots when I ride. It's just something I just do. I don't know. It just makes me feel more sure-footed, you know, underneath this 900-pound motorcycle. So, I mean, why not? It keeps me a little safer, maybe. Alright, everybody. Thanks so much for watching this show. Thanks for subscribing. I do appreciate it. You know, and I tell you every time we leave you, ride your own ride. Let me hear some of your stories about your childhood. I would love to hear what you've done as a kid. You know, it's funny how that stuff just sticks in our heads like it was yesterday. I told my wife, our minds don't really get older. They get filled a little bit more. Our bodies are the ones that get older and break down, but our mind is something that can just pack full of data in there in your head. So, alright everybody, take care. Remember, ride your own ride. I will talk to you next time. Harley Day Rider down and out in beautiful southwestern Pennsylvania. Bye-bye for now. Oh, hitting the bumps. Bye-bye for now. We'll see ya.